and welcome to Bulwell Forest Gardens. Let's get growing. We're in near the end of April, so by the time you watch this we'll probably be near May Day, and the weather's warmed up a bit. It's a little bit cloudy today, so it's kind of perfect for some of the things I want to show you today. So basically we're going to be looking at two simple gardening techniques, which once you learn these, once you've got these under your belt, you could be a much better gardener. So the two techniques that we're going to be looking at today are potting on and pricking out. So potting on, it's a simple, all it means is taking a plant from one pot and putting it into a bigger pot to help it to grow. So we're going to start with your packs. So in your packs you've got some little calendula plants. I think you've all seen these before. They're a hardy annual, and sometimes you can get them to overwinter, and so they could be flowering. I think some of you might have some from last year that are flowering now. So they're good wildlife plant. They're a good companion plant, which means you can plant them with your vegetables and it'll bring in lots of beneficial insects. And they're hardy, they're easy to grow. So the most difficult thing is getting them beyond this kind of point without them getting eaten. So what I'm going to do is pot it on into a bigger pot, and I'm going to nurture it a little bit before I decide to plant it out or into a big mixed planter. So potting on, the first thing is to have a look at your plant and see how its root system is. So you can see the compost isn't falling away, it's filled the pot. You can see its roots here, so this is definitely ready to go into a bigger pot. So I'm going to half fill, so I've got next size up. I don't do it directly into a very big pot because you'd probably be wasting compost and wasting water, and the plant might sort of rot if it's in a pot that's too big for it. So that's why we do it stage by stage. So we put some compost around it. And once you get them going, they're a lovely hardy plant, and they'll flower until the frosts in October. So that's it, and then I give that a little water. And then we can move on to the next item in your pack, which is a Babington leek. So again, it's in a little module. These are from some seeds that were donated to us. So this is, I think it's a heritage seed plant, so it's a very old variety. It's called Babington leek after the person who discovered it, and it's a perennial, so not like most leeks. So you grow this as a perennial and all of the plant's edible, but normally what you would do when it's ready to harvest is you would cut it there and leave the bulb in the ground, which would regenerate itself for the next year. So with these, it's important to realise that they do go dormant in the summer and the warmer weather, so don't think you've killed it, and then it would re-emerge in the spring or the winter depending on the climate. So potting on again, same principle, and I can see already that this one needs, this needs potting on because its roots are poking out through the bottom. So again, because this is a perennial, I'm going to nurture it into a bigger pot till it's filled this pot before I decide where I'm going to plant it. And you want as little disruption as possible while you're doing this, and then firm it in, the label back in. Okay. So before we go on to pricking out, let's just have a look at some of our other plants. So our tomato plant, which in the last one I put into a bigger container, so I'm going to check it again. Yep, it's filled its pot, so same principle, next size up pot, not disturbing the plant. Put it back in carefully. Putting the compost back around it. Okay, so that looks better. That's the moneymaker tomato. The next thing I'm going to do with the tomato is I'm going to start to train it, because I'm going to grow it as a cordon, which means going straight up rather than a bush variety. So I'm going to just pinch out these leaves, which are growing up in between the main stem and this leaf here. And there's another one there, and this is something you have to keep doing. That's it. And then when I water this, I will be careful. I'll water around the compost here. I won't water the leaves because they don't like it. So looking a lot better than it did. And then I'm also going to look at my rosemary plant, which was in one of the previous packs. It's picking up a bit, but it's a little bit pot bound. So with this one, because its roots are twisting round, I'm going to tease it out a little bit. You'd only do this if you think your plants, you know, sometimes you can be quite rough with them. If they're really pot bound is the best answer. So I think I'm going to go for a nice big pot with this one. It smells nice. Firm it in, leaving enough space so it can get a drink. And if you did have like because this is a perennial that's going to stay in here for a while, it would be good to put like some kind of mulch around here, clay pebbles or old slates, whatever you've got. And also with this rosemary, what I would do is I would trim off, I haven't got my secateurs handy, but just pinch out these tips just to get it to bush out a little bit. I think it's too warm in here for it. It's been in the polytunnel, so I'm going to put it outside with the other Let's Get Growing plants. These are the wildflowers that we did. And they've really filled their pot, so they either need to go into the ground, or in this case, for show purposes, I'm going to put it into a bigger pot. And again, this is a bit warm in here as well. Wildflowers don't need to be mollycoddled, they're fully hardy, so this will be going outside. Okay, and the sunflowers, which were quite eaten, but they're picking up a little bit. So these ones, they're ready to go into a bigger pot too. I'm probably going to keep these in here just to bring them on a bit for now. So we have been planting sunflowers outside. It's a bit of a risk, but sometimes they get too leggy, the big ones. Okay. One more pot here. So that's potting on. It's a really easy technique. It's the same technique with all your plants. Just checking at the root system, and then if they've filled the pot, get them into the next size pot with as little disruption as possible. So that's my sunflowers sorted. Right, we're going to move on now. Although there is other, like the Nottingham catchfly would actually benefit as well from a bigger pot, or from planting out, as you can see. And I think my summer bulbs I only did in a small pot. But we're going to move on to pricking out now. So the final thing in your pot should be a little pot of Cosmos Purity. So these are an annual. They are white, I think, with a little yellow centre. Cosmos is a great plant because once you get it going and you planted it out, it will flower again like calendula until the first frosts. It's a pretty tough plant once you get it beyond its small stages. So I'm going to need a bit more compost. So pricking out, the first thing is when to do it. So this is my basil seedlings that I sowed the last time. So they've come up. Looks like one's been eaten a bit. They're not ready yet. They haven't got their true leaves. So they've got these 2 leaves, but I need to wait till these other leaves develop here. So not ready with those. But the cosmos in your packs are ready. So you've got a clump, you should have 6 in here. So what we're going to do, you could do them in toilet roll tubes. I'm going to do them into a 6 module. I'm going to tip it, and then I'm going to handle it with its leaves. So this is its root system, which I'm trying not to disturb. So I'm going to separate it out gently. So I've got a massive root system there. It might not all be off this one plant, but it is. I'm going to dib a hole, put my plant in the middle, and you'll find with practice you'll get much better at this. I'm quite speedy. I've got volunteers who do this all the time. Do like a production line. So it's not too hot today, so it's good to do this on a cooler day, because otherwise, because these seedlings are really delicate. So if it is a hot day and it's the only time you've got to do it, I would be doing it in the shade, and I would leave the plants, water them, and then leave them in the shade until they've recovered, because otherwise you'll lose them. Okay, and put the label back in and water them with a fine rose, and then put them in the shade. And then we'll move on. These were a bit trickier. So these are the lettuce that we sowed as baby leaves, which I did last time. You could, if you decided, you could leave them in here and just do them, cut them when they're ready, cut and come again. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you how to pick these out, because these are a little bit more difficult than what you've just done. So I've got, again, multi-cell tray. These ones aren't as big. There is quite a lot of seedlings there. So the most difficult bit here is actually taking them out. So I've got a little scoop, and you can see that these are ready for pricking out. They've got their true leaves. So I take a clump out like this, and then this is the bit where you need to be careful. So you can see with that how many leaves it's got, so it's ready to do. I'm going to handle it with its leaves rather than its roots, and then I'm going to dib a hole into each one. And again, they won't like it if it's really hot. Take them a day or two to recover from this. This is the baby leaf lettuce. And usually, though they all look quite good, these, if you've got a lot of seedlings, like what we've got here with these, we've pricked some of these out, these are little snapdragons. But what I would be doing with these ones, because there's so many of them, is I would be choosing what I think look like the strongest ones here, and just dismissing these little ones if you've got too many seedlings. Okay, so I think you've got the idea now. So the best thing to do with this is just to have a go and keep practicing. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So, oh, finally, my neglected potato plant. So I put it in the polytunnel down there, and then I forgot about it. Anyway, it's okay, but what I should have been doing is, as it was emerging, and I would probably, I haven't got any to hand, but just use some homemade compost with this. I'm just going to pile some compost on top of it. and I will put some homemade on there. I'll fill it up to about there, and then that's it. So the other things were the sweet peas. Remember, they looked a bit sad last time and I potted them on, and they look a bit better. And then there was also the Kelvedon Wonder, which was the eating peas, which were over here, which are picking up a little bit. And then finally we'll just have a little look outside at the pots that I've put outside. I'm going to take these out as well. So I've got a collection here of things that have been from the packs. So the ornamental daisies are still going. I did had a few of them. I've got these are the broad beans. They probably could do with tying up some of these things, but as you can see, we've got beans forming on here. The Angelicas, that's looking better for getting put in a bigger pot. And the poppy, I think it was too warm in the polytunnel, but you can see it's got this amazing flower structure beginning here. You see that? Incredible thing. And yeah, that's it for today. So thanks for watching, and I hope everything's going well, and it'd be lovely to see some pictures on the Facebook page of any of your things in bloom, fruiting. So that's it. Happy gardening. Happy May Day.